This is my reflection for the second coaching session that I had with Miss Booker, and this is on the heels of the Learn video. The strategies that I used for this particular session came from chapter 4 of Knight's text, and I like it, especially the graphic organizer at the very beginning, where he talks about describing teaching strategies by creating an instructional playbook, sharing a checklist, and by modeling. And so, what we did in our session was spend a lot of time on the checklist. And this checklist was for Ms. Booker to use with her students. So, her goal is to have more student engagement, have the students do more meaningful talk where they describe the answers in details and they make use of the SMPs. One of the things that I think went really well with the lesson, and I also got some good feedback from my peers in the class, was the checklist that I created. Actually, I didn't create it. I thought about something that I read in the book where it said that you don't have to start everything from scratch. Use something that's already there. So I wanted to have a checklist, a version of a checklist for her. So I just modified that idea and we created one that picked out the specific SMPs that she wanted to address and then criteria that would be underneath that particular SMP where the students could demonstrate what she's trying to show. I did like that. She was able to give me some input, which was huge. I don't want to be the only one talking. I don't want to be the keeper of all knowledge. So I left the door open for her to add her input, and Miss Booker was a trooper. She was completely involved, making choices, thinking about what her kids needed, what she already does in her classroom that she could capitalize on. So that went well. I do feel like though after the lesson was over, I knew what I felt like she needed to do. But I don't think that she had the most clear picture of what was supposed to be happening. I know that I was jotting down notes and I was writing things to myself and my brain was really turning. But when I look back at the video, she was just sitting there, and that's no fault of her own. That's just a reflection that I have for myself. So I say I don't want to be the keeper of all knowledge and I want her to get involved, but then that also means that I have to find a way to be more interactive in terms of her actually putting an action plan together. And that could look a lot of different ways. If I were sitting there at the table with her, I probably would have said, hey, let me go run to the copier and make a copy of this for you. But I'm still trying to work my way around meeting with her digitally. So that's definitely something that I think was a little bit hanky that I could have just done better on. So far, I don't really see anything that I'm reading in the book that doesn't mesh well with reality. I don't think that any of this is beyond the scope of what I'm able to do. There haven't been any huge hiccups outside of the obvious with the school shutdown. Well, the closing of the physical building. But everything else kind of meshes in. I really liked watching the videos that Jim Knight was doing with the other teachers. And one of the things that I'm taking from those videos is how at ease he is. He's very comfortable. He is really asking questions and allowing the teacher to do a lot of the talking and the decision making. So as I mentioned before, that's something that I've been trying to model. It's really not even, you're thinking coaching, at least I was, you think coaching is telling the person what they need to be doing. But when I watch the videos that are inside of the text and linked in D2L, that's the exact opposite of it. It's almost like leading the horse to water. So I'm definitely trying to take some cues from that. I feel pretty good about how everything is going, how I'm developing. Um, it's definitely easier. So we did end up emailing back and forth and coming up with a time. We have a sheet, a remote log, a remote learning log at my school where everybody puts up the code to their Zoom sessions, their Google Meet sessions, and so we did confirm a day that would work, even though we didn't show it online. But I know that in the future, that's probably something that I need to pin down while we're in that session because so many things can happen. So that's just a side note for me to think about what I might want to do. So, something positive that I see in terms of Miss Booker's growth. Well, first of all, she already has some savvy when it comes to technology. She's not one of those teachers who is resistant to different modes of technology. But I do think this is a challenge of a different kind because normally the way that she uses technology is where the students are just consuming information. Play this game, log on to this particular, platform and do this assignment, and not necessarily using technology as an interactive teaching tool. So I also gave her some things that I felt like would relate to the TPAC. So entering that content into it. So yes, there's Flipgrid, but how do you use that to maximize content and the learning experience? And so